So after watching the Portland Trail Blazers series, there's been a lot of rumors speculating and swirling around the NBA community about teams that have potential interest in Damian Lillard and trying to acquire him in the offseason via trade. And it sparked my attention because I haven't really talked about players who needed to be traded in a very long time, and right now there are a whole bunch of players that need a change in scenery that's not only going to help them, but the team that they're currently on also. Because whether it's a situation where the team the player is on just sucks or they're stuck in purgatory, absolutely no NBA fan wants to see great players waste away their prime years in those kind of situations. But before we get started with this video, I would like to give a shout out to the sponsors, StarStock. StarStock is a new and improved marketplace for sports card hobbyists to buy, sell, and invest in their favorite athletes. Their goal is to enable sports fans to instantly trade cards like never before. Sign up today with my promo code YoungMustard and receive $10 free when you make a deposit of $10 or more. So make sure you go and check out StarStock ASAP after watching this video. But without further ado, let's get back to the topic at hand and talk about the first player, and that is the one and only forward on the Detroit Pistons known as Jerami Grant. Now for those who don't know, Jerami Grant had a bit of a rise to stardom this past season as he finally for the first time in his career became a 20-point per game scorer while doing it on relatively solid shooting splits, I would say, considering that he was really the only consistent offensive option for the Detroit Pistons. But that's kind of the problem. He's the only source of real consistent offense on the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are a bottom feeding team. They were 15th in the Eastern Conference, which ranks as dead last. And I know many people, especially Nuggets fans, are going to say he turned down a contract that was the exact same amount from the Denver Nuggets just to go to the Pistons. So it's very obvious he knew the situation. He knew what he was getting into. So it's very obvious that he went to Detroit to feed his ego and become the man of his own team. So please don't mistake what I'm about to say as some pity party for Jerami Grant. I do not feel bad for him. But you have to look at the Pistons side of things and understand that Jerami Grant's value may be as high as it's ever going to get because he's a 20-point per game scorer, he still has years left on his contract, and he's a two-way wing. There are numerous teams in the NBA that could use that, for example, the Los Angeles Lakers, as it's very obvious they need somebody to be that third guy next to LeBron and Anthony Davis, and I think that Jerami Grant would be perfect in that role. Or if you want to look at the team that they even faced in the finals, ironically, last year, the Miami Heat. Sure, Jerami Grant is not a superstar, but as I said in multiple reviews on my second channel after the Heat lost to the Bucks, if you haven't seen my second channel, make sure you subscribe. I essentially stated that Jay Crowder's loss was bigger than people know because he killed the Bucks in that series, and I think that Jerami Grant would be an even better replacement for a guy like Jay Crowder instead of Andre Iguodala. I'm just saying. But yeah, Jerami Grant, get him the hell out of Detroit, not only for his sake, but for the team's sake, because they need to move on as soon as possible. It's not worth having him on that team when you could trade him for assets, because I thought that was the point anyway. Nobody thought Jerami Grant was going to lead them anywhere but the lottery, and that's exactly where they are. But let's move on to the next player, and that is Boston's own Kemba Walker. Now, I have talked about Kemba multiple times. I even made a video about him. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go and check it out. A card should be on the screen right about now. But the Celtics made a huge mistake from the beginning signing Kemba Walker, because there was never a point in time in Charlotte where I thought Kemba Walker was a top 5 point guard. There's never been a time in Charlotte where I thought Kemba Walker was a top 20 player, and for sure there's never been a time where I thought Kemba Walker was a superstar. And unless it was Charlotte that was throwing him a max contract, or a super max I would say, since he did make an All-NBA team there, I saw no reason for any other team to throw him a max contract, which is what the Celtics did. That was a mistake. Kemba Walker is not worth that amount of money, even if he was healthy for a majority of his tenure there, which he has not been for the Boston Celtics, and that's to be expected for an aging point guard that's small and little, as a lot of them break down sooner than expected. And after terrible playoff performances and just not being able to stay healthy, the Kemba Walker experiment in Boston has been an abject failure. And I'm not just trying to shit on Kemba here, but I definitely just don't see the fit with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They need somebody that's going to play make and create open shots for them instead of them having to also rely on small ball every single play. And honestly, Kemba Walker can't do that consistently. He's just not that great of a playmaker. He can make plays for himself and others at times, but that's the key word, at times. Kemba is a score-first player, and I think that if you replace him with a point guard that has more of an attitude towards playmaking for others and can get his own shot, I definitely think that is something that the Celtics could look into. A name that I would personally suggest would be Malcolm Brogdon. Now, you're probably going to have to throw a couple more assets in there. I don't know, the contract filler situation, and Pacers fans, don't kill me too much. I know Brogdon is really nice, but at the end of the day, I think both players fit needs for the other team than the team that they're currently on. But that's just my personal opinion. Let's move on to the next player, and that is the one and only KarlAnthony Towns. Now, from the moment that Cat walked into the NBA, a lot of people thought he was going to be the best player in the league sooner rather than later. Now, sure, Cat hasn't lived up to those expectations, I definitely admit that, but Cat has still been a solid 20 and 10 guy on great efficiency and is an underrated playmaker. He is one of the most underrated offensive players in the league, not just bigs, but players. He has the ability to take players off the dribble, and sure, he may struggle against physicality at times, but he can shoot the 3-ball and knock down the mid-range jumper, so I think that cancels it out, because not only is he a great shooter, but he's potentially on his way to become the best shooter at the big man position that we have ever seen. Move over, Dirk Nowitzki, because Cat is on his way. But unfortunately, he's not going to be remembered as being the greatest anything if he stays in Minnesota, because unfortunately, not only is that franchise cursed, it just reeks of trash. They have been garbage for almost what feels like decades. Actually, it has been decades. Since Kevin Garnett left, they have just not been able to be good in any way, shape, or form. They can't develop talent, they can't keep talent, and whenever talent leaves, they always either get better or just are more successful. And prime examples are guys like Kevin Love, Andrew Wiggins, and if you want to look at how bad their development staff is, remember Jarrett Culver? Yeah, I remember him too. I thought he had a lot of potential. Unfortunately, he went to the Minnesota Timberwolves, so that's officially dead. And I know Timberwolves fans and some D-Lo fans are gonna beg me to say, stop, you're spoiling it, you're ruining it, stop it, we want Cat to stay, we just got D-Lo, give it one more chance. No. There were so many games I saw this year where D-Lo just made bad decision making in the clutch. The Timberwolves were in a lot of close games. There was no excuse for them to be as bad as they were. And I know that Cat and D-Lo haven't been that healthy together, but let's just be real. Even if Cat and D'Lo were healthy, Anthony Edwards having a great rookie season, and hopefully he can build onto that moving forward, what's the potential of this team? Like, honestly, what's the potential? Because I still don't see the Timberwolves doing any damage in the playoffs, and if they get there, they're going to be a first-round exit automatically. And with all the questions surrounding this organization, you know what's the one guarantee and certainty? It's that KarlAnthony Towns is going to be playing at an elite level offensively every single year, day in and day out. But guess what it's going to result to? Absolutely nothing. And that's why he needs to get the fuck out of Minnesota. But let's move on to another player that needs to get the fuck out of their organization, and that's Bradley Beal. Look, I don't feel sorry for Bradley Beal. I've even made a video titled, "We need to stop feeling sorry for Bradley Beal." But this is more so about the Wizards. Can the Wizards please blow it up? I mean, seriously, just think about it. They went through all of this struggle and fight to make the playoffs. Russell Westbrook had to have this amazing stretch yet again after having another bad stretch to start off the season, and Bradley Beal looked like he belonged in church with the way he was praying on the sideline during their blowouts during that stretch. And if you're going through all of that just to get swept in the first round essentially every year, and in some years you may not make it because of the play-in, is it really worth it? Like, honestly, is it worth it to go through all of this, spend all this money on Bradley Beal's max contract and Russell Westbrook's just to be first round exits at best? No, it's not worth it at all. Trade Beal and move the fuck on. But speaking of a team that needs to move on, that brings us to our final players, and I just put them both in the same spot. That is Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum. Now, before any of you Blazers fans start raging in the comment section, understand that this duo peaked years ago. When they went to the Western Conference Finals, I remember seeing them go out in a sweep, and I was like, man, they need to trade Dame or CJ because it seems like they kind of peaked with this duo already. Because due to the fact that both of them are so bad defensively, their offense can only take them so far, and it's not like they're surrounded by great two-way players, because in fact a lot of their players are one-way players, guys like KarlAnthony, Enes Kanter, Dame, and CJ obviously. And when that is the case, you have to move somebody to bring in a defensive presence that can change the dynamic of your team, because people forget the Blazers have been one of the best offenses in the league for years. They were a top 5 offense this year, but they were also a bottom 5 defense this year, and that is never a recipe to even get out of the first round, much less make the NBA Finals, which should be the step for this organization. And if I'm the Blazers, I'm more than likely going to trade CJ McCollum because, for one, he's the worst player, and two, a guy like Damian Lillard is not going to come around very often, especially for a small market team like the Portland Trail Blazers, unless they draft him. And besides, Damian Lillard actually wants to be in Portland. He wants to win a championship, so you owe it to him to at least put your best foot forward, and trading CJ McCollum should have been something done a long time ago, but unfortunately it just seems like the organization is not willing to pull the trigger. But with the departure of head coach Terry Stotts, and also Damian Lillard posting cryptic messages and rumors that teams are quote-unquote eyeing Damian Lillard in the offseason, hopefully that wakes this organization up and whips them into shape on building the best team possible around Damian Lillard. And if you don't think that Damian Lillard is good enough to win a championship, then just blow it up in its entirety and trade Damian Lillard. But unfortunately, knowing the Portland Trail Blazers and their complacency, they're probably going to hire some random coach in the offseason and run it back with the same team. And once they inevitably lose in the first round yet again, we're going to be having this exact same conversation. But that concludes this video, you guys. If you're not subscribed, make sure you press that subscribe button and drop a like down below to help out with the channel. And I'm sure some of you guys have strong emotions about things I said about certain players in this video, so let me know down below in the comment section your opinions. Do not forget to subscribe to the second channel and check out the Nothing But Action podcast. All of that stuff is in the description box down below. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Young Mustard out. Peace.